Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip. Love, peace, and hair grease. Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve.
Hampton, but we the real HU, girl. Hey, everybody. Yay. I'm back. I have so much to get into it with you about, but happy Juneteenth. If you are not familiar, just I'm like, let me fix my hair real quick because I look crazy. Okay, that looks a little better. All right. If you are not familiar with what Juneteenth is, I'm going to break it down for you in a minute. But welcome to the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I am your host, Carla Renata. If this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click that bell below if you are on YouTube to subscribe to the channel and grab those notifications if you might. And I want to welcome Brandon, who's always in that chat room saying hello to me. I appreciate you. Hello, Brandon. All right, let's get right on into it, you guys. I was in Memphis, Tennessee last week covering all things Elvis. But in addition to that, while I was in the airport actually running to get to Memphis, I did this interview with Kira Sedgwick, Madeline Brewer, who you guys know from Handmaid's Tale, and Alexandra Shipp from the film Space Oddity, which played at the Tribeca Film Festival, and they just ended, I believe, yesterday. So if you're not familiar with the films that won at the Tribeca Film Festival, go online. I'm sure they got all kind of things to tell you about it. And then I came home, I rested up for a few days, and then I went to the Motion Picture Television Fund 100 anniversary celebration. They've been around for 100 years. And what MPTF does is they help people in all lanes of the film industry, whether you are a casting director, a cinematographer, a producer, a director, a studio head, in addition to being actors and grips and sound engineers. When you fall upon hard times, they are the ones that give you a little boosty boost. And at the end of the show, I will give you a link where you can go and donate because they will truly need your assistance. And then, in addition to all of that, I was invited back again by Chaz Ebert, Roger Ebert's other half, who runs his site, rogerebert.com. She invited me to be part of the Black Writers Week for 2022. And I have an article that's going to rub people the wrong way, but you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. I got to stay true to who I am. So Juneteenth is the day, June 19th is the day in Galveston, Texas, when Black people found out they were free. They had been freed for 2.5 years before somebody else told them, hey, you know what? You're free. So a lot of Black people, instead of celebrating July 4th, we celebrate Juneteenth because it's what? Our Emancipation Day. Let me talk about what Brandon, oh, hey, Wendy Lee Curtis. Well, hello, sister. Good to see you in the chat room. But let me tell you what Brandon usually says to me. Brandon says that he had a great week last week. He saw Lightyear. He says it's a great Pixar movie, and he can't wait to see Minions: Rise of Gru, Paws of Fury, and Super Pets. I didn't get to see Lightyear because I was traveling. I will get to see Minions: Rise of Gru, Paws of Fury, and Super Pets. So I got you on that one. And you said that you're taking your second animation class in September. Snaps and claps to you, Brandon. I know how much you love to draw. So that is what my boy Brandon has to say. So in addition to Juneteenth, I have a couple of interviews, you guys, one interview in particular that goes in accordance to that. So there's a woman named DeWanda Wise. You may know her from the Jurassic World franchise. You may also know her from that Spike Lee joint that she's starring in. but she paired up with Dr. Rebecca Hall to do an audio original play called Wake. It's written by Tyler English Beckwith. It involves the hidden history of women who led slave revolts. And it also is exclusively available on Audible right now. It became available on June 17th. Let me explain to you what it's about. It was originally published as part of a graphic novel and part memoir. Podium Audio acquired the exclusive global audio rights to Wake in this graphic novel, and it was named one of the best books of 2021 by NPR. The cast includes not only DeWanda Wise, but Shantae Adams, Jerry Johnson, Falakwe Olo. I'm not even going to mess up your name, Falakwe, because it's a lot of syllables and letters happening up in there. Catherine McNamara, Bonnie Turpin, my HU homie, Rian Reeves, Karen Molina White, another HU Bison, Roman Zaragoza, Alex Ubakudum, John Clarence Stewart, Blake Cooper Griffin, who I've worked with as well, Tim DeKay, Kate Steele, Andre Saglucio, and Matthew Wolf, with original music composed by Jace Clayton, aka DJ Rupture. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play this interview that I did with the ladies, and you are going to love it. Here we go. There was a quote that I read that it said that the past is gone, but we still in its wake.
Yeah.
Can both of you address that particular quote? I'll start with DeWanda this time.
I feel like it doesn't matter what I was as moved by the story as I was Dr. Rebecca's journey, because I think it goes without saying, but we should still be saying it, that no matter all of our respective industries, it is a battle. We are always, being called to arms in some respect or another, whether that's, my job and ensuring that the characters I play are fully human. And, that they're not being kind of used as some like story device or tool, that they are just as vulnerable as they are resilient. There's so many just kind of, there's almost a battle a day. I think for each of us, especially when we're kind of in the thick of our work, and we are required to have skill sets that very few other people groups have to have. Like that's just what it is. And I think there was one moment where I'm kind of like fighting on a welfare issue on a project, like something that was like an equal pay situation for members of our crew, not even like for actors, but like members of the crew. And it was very clear that I had the bandwidth, like I just that's just what I come from. I come from a family of integrated service. That's kind of, just how Black women are built and we're raised. We're very community minded.
Absolutely.
And there were other members of my cast who were just like, I don't know how you have all this energy.
Right.
Like, I don't know where did you get this bandwidth? And I'm like, it's in my DNA.
You always got to have energy to do what's right. You always have to find the energy or have the energy to do what's right. It's like my mama says all the time, if you fall for if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. Right?
Yeah. I just wanted to add, just what, DeWanda was saying is that as a teacher, I'm also kind of the same thing. It's like, no, I'm seeing this. I have to intervene. This is not okay. And people are also like, why are you fighting so much? It's like, because this is important, and I get the same kind of pushback, like, just do your job. I'm really not good at that. So I just kept getting fired. So, it's interesting. Like, how can we walk through our lives with integrity, and, the pain that it causes, but also the strength that it creates. And when I met DeWanda for the first time on Zoom, like a few days before production started, and I was asking, what drew her to this project. And, she was talking about the research process and like excavating. I don't know if you remember this, but like the whole excavating process. And you're like, as an actor, I'm also an excavator. And I just found that fascinating. And you said something like, because I only have one body. And then I was trying to explain that to my son. And then I was like, realized I didn't catch the whole thing, but I didn't quite understand it. But it was interesting to me, like how similar the work can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just say we got 1 minute left? This was the fastest 10 minutes I have ever had in my entire life. It was such an enjoyable conversation, but I just got to give you homage, Dr. Rebecca, because as a bison from Howard University, you employed two of my bisons, Karen Molina White and Bonnie Turpin, and I would be remiss in ending this conversation without bringing that up, because everybody that knows me, if I have an opportunity to bring up Howard University, I'm going to bring up Howard University.
I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, for talking to me about Wake. I can't wait to enlighten people about the project and have them listen to it and take a little peek. It's very enlightening. I'm glad that this is being approached and it's being put out there for the masses to enjoy and be educated and inspired by. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right.
For
bye. Again, you guys, it's called Wake, WAKE, and it is attainable right now on Audible. I did listen to it, and it is expertly and excellently done, and it is a wonderful way to ring out the tail end of Juneteenth. Speaking of Juneteenth, there is a documentary that is on Netflix right now called Civil, and it's dealing with attorney Ben Crump. It's directed by Nadia Halgren, who brought us the same documentary on Netflix about First Lady Michelle Obama called Becoming. It debuted on Netflix yesterday, and it follows Attorney Crump's work as the killing of unarmed Black people like Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, George Floyd, and other devastated people in the people of color community was happening across the United States and the world. Ben has been called the African American Emergency Plan. Can I just tell you how much I hollered when they said he was called the African American Emergency Plan? Because that used to be, back in the day, that used to be Johnny Cochran. Now it has been Crump. So let's talk about this for a second. He's represented families of Black men and women that have been killed by the police. 500 years of police killing Black people, and they have not had any financial responsibility whatsoever. Ben Crump wants them to have accountability and be financially responsible for killing Black people unjustly. That is the main reason you need to watch Civil. The difference, he said something very important. The difference now when somebody gets shot, like 500 years ago, it was somebody's word against another person's word. Now the only difference is a cell phone. Millions and millions and hundreds of murders are captured on cell phone videos and cameras, but even we've seen that even that doesn't make a difference. Now, having said that, he's not perfect. There are people that have criticized and accused Crump for taking money and getting rich and lining his pockets off of the tragedies of Black families. I personally disagree. When I watched Civil, I saw a family man. I saw somebody that was using his platform to do as Thurgood Marshall told him to do. And Thurgood Marshall said, go into the courtroom and not argue what is legal, argue what is right. And that is exactly what he does. In 2021, he still has so many different cases pending, but in 2012, he settled the Trayvon Martin case for a reported $1 to $2 million. That had never been done. In 2017, he settled the Mike Brown case for $1.5 million. In 2020, he settled the Breonna Taylor case for $12 million. And in 2021, Ben Crump's legal firm settled the George Floyd case for a record reported $27 million. Not only has he helped the Trayvon Martins, the Mike Browns, the Breonna Taylors, the George Floyd families, but he's also given his expertise to the Boy Scouts of America, Harvard University, State Farm, Astroworld / Live Nation, Johnson & Johnson, The Bronx Apartment Fire, Google, Henrietta Lacks, and Amazon. Civil is streaming right now on Netflix. Do yourselves a favor and check it out. There is a new film coming out called The Black Phone. It's going to be on, where is it going to be? Let me just check. It's a Universal Pictures movie, and it stars it stars Ethan Hawke. And baby, when I tell you Ethan Hawke is doing the daggone thing in this movie, it's called The Black Phone, and it is directed by Scott Derrickson, and it's based on The Black Phone by Joe Hill. Finney Shaw, who is one of the kids in the film, he is a shy but clever 13-year-old boy who's being held in a soundproof basement against his will. But, well, against his will by this sadistic masked killer. When a disconnected phone on the wall starts to ring, he soon discovers that he can hear the voices of the previous murdered victims. And they are dead set on making sure what happened to them doesn't happen to Finn. When I tell you that Ethan Hawke is creepily engaging, you cannot take your eyes off of him in this film. This gives you another perspective into the abducted missing children scenario and how one child, or in this case, numerous children, can change the narrative and save one life. And it also deals with the curses of a family, and it changes the trajectory of the family. And what I mean by that is that the little girl's mother, Finn has a sister, and his sister's mother, then their mother was known for hearing voices and seeing things, and they just thought she was crazy. In this case, Finn's sister ends up saving his life because she ends up seeing things that become integral to the case and become clues into finding Finn, which was not able to happen with the other children in the film. I like this film. I jumped a couple of times, but y'all know I don't handle scary and horror too well. But this isn't a horror movie. It's more like a murder mystery thriller. It's a Blumhouse joint. You know, I love me some Blumhouse things because I can actually stomach the Blumhouse horror thriller movies. They don't make me stay up late at night looking at the walls and creeping and looking at the hallway. But I highly suggest you check out The Black Phone. I think it got a really high rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it will be in theaters on June 24th. The next, so that's The Black Phone and Civil. But then I want to talk about this crazy thing that I saw on Amazon Prime. Is called Chloe. It is also dropping on June 24th. It's directed and written by Alice Seabright, co-directed by Amanda Boyle, and it stars Erin Doherty, who plays, that's her in the background. She played Princess Anne on The Crown. If you're a big fan of The Crown, you'll recognize her from that. Brandon Michael Hall, you'll recognize him from ABC's now defunct series The Mayor, and Pippa Bennett. Can I just say that Pippa Bennett has the most British name ever? Pippa, just saying. But this film, it's not a film, it's actually like a limited series. It's like a limited series murder mystery situation. And what it deals with is, what's the best way to describe it? It deals with you know how when you watch somebody's timeline, sometimes you'll watch someone's timeline and you'll be like, oh, I wonder what it feels like to be in their life for just a second. But when does obsession become stalking, and when does it become dangerous? And when does a lie become dangerous, right? So that is the gist of Chloe. I don't want to tell you too much about it because it is a limited series and it's going to play for 4 minutes. So I don't want to ruin it for you, but I kind of loved it. I loved that Becky kind of compares herself to the person whose life she's stalking on Instagram. And she compulsively keeps going to this one account, Chloe's. And when Chloe suddenly passes away, Becky needs to find out, she has this compulsive need to find out how and why. And it leads her to assuming a new identity. I know it sounds like it's a lot. It does. But these are the things you need to keep in mind when it comes to Chloe. Is there a fine line between being obsessed and stalked? And it's very addictive. and is perfectly acted and wonderfully engaging. And I have all three of the stars, Aaron Doherty, Michael Brandon Hall, and Pippa Bennett. So take a look and a listen to this interview from the stars of Chloe on Prime Video.
I'm such a big fan of your work. I love your work so much. And I particularly loved you in this. You were slaying all day long.
No way. Thank you so much.
Girl, I was obsessed. After watching you in this, I was obsessed, which brings me to this. Do you think there is a fine line between obsession and stalking? And why do you think Becky consistently feels compelled to cross that line?
I think that, yeah, of course, like I think it's constantly like battling between, obsession and maybe like behaving in certain ways that you may regret later. But I think that's what's so intriguing about Becky and this show. I think why Becky behaves that way, you learn as the episodes go along. And I think that's what I was most excited about portraying. I think it's very easy to go, oh, Becky's just a creep. But actually, you start to learn that she's actually in a really difficult situation that she's just desperate to get out of. And I think desperation can force anyone to behave anyway. And especially the specific set of circumstances that she's battling with her mum and having to be a carer at such a young age. And just, I suppose, dealing with early onset, like anyone is really phenomenal for having to go through that, I think. And of course, it forces Becky to want to avoid that and just live a day as someone else. Like, I completely understand that. And I think this show's so good at going, yes, these behaviors and these choices she makes are morally questionable. But when you look at why she's making them, surely you can understand or relate in some way.
There is one person that she lets in. She lets Josh in. He's the only person that she consistently lets her hair down with, lets her guard down with, but she ends up not, she doesn't want to fall. You get the feeling that she doesn't want to fall in love with him. Why do you think that is?
I think, like most people, she's terrified of what that could mean. I think there's a sense of vulnerability that she's not ready to feel. And I think there's enough fear in her life to do with becoming a carer and the inevitability of not having any connection once her mum doesn't remember her anymore. Like, that's enough for Becky. And so the idea of being that vulnerable with someone and allowing someone in and allowing someone to potentially hurt you even more is just a no-go area for Becky. And that's why she completely taps out. And it's so heartbreaking to see her go along that journey with Josh and get one step closer every time they meet to potentially having this relationship. But again, I think Alice is so good at just highlighting that is a human thing that we all face. Like, it takes a lot of bravery to let someone in, and Becky just wasn't ready yet.
I was rooting for her and Josh. I was, because his little puppy dog face, I couldn't take it.
I know. I want them to.
I know, I want them to too.
He's the only one that calls her out. I think Josh is very in tune to what's happening because he picks up on all the red flags and all the cues. And then, like, what happens in the first episode, he calls her out on her BS, and she has no room to play with Josh, because Josh is like, I know what's happening, and also I can expose, so he's holding kind of the ace of spade there in a sense. I think that's how.
And she and why do you think she wants so badly to get Livy's approval? Like, she craves her approval so tremendously so, but at the same time, you kind of feel like she doesn't.
Yes, I know it's kind of like the way she goes for Liv and the way she seeks Liv out. It's complicated. You know how sometimes female friendships can be complicated, and sometimes I feel with Liv and Sasha and Becky, it feels like not school politics, but wanting to be in the most popular girl group. And I wonder if there's like an essence of that in the way that she handles her and manipulates Liv. It's very like there's an essence of wanting to be in with the cool girl. Do you know what I mean?
It's shady boots is what it is. It's shady boots. It's shady boots. Do you think that every lie is getting closer to the truth, or just the opposite?
I think the first one, like, I think you see Becky go on a huge journey of self-discovery throughout the show. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it has anything to do with Chloe. I think Chloe is just the manifestation of actually Becky understanding why she is running away from herself, essentially. And every lie that she's telling gets her towards the truth of knowing who she really is and being at peace with that and offering herself less judgment. I don't think she completely accomplishes self-love, but I think she's much further along the way at the end of the story than she is at the start.
I think when you start lying, you're playing a very dangerous game. You almost have to like write down each lie. Otherwise you just trip yourself up, which is, you know, essentially what ends up happening in our show. But it's, yeah, I think you're playing with fire when you start lying.
What about you, Brandon? Or do you agree with Pippa?
No, I definitely agree with it. I definitely agree with Pippa. It's like striking a match every single time, and after a while, you know, you get caught up in your own lies. You know, it's that old saying, you know, a white lie doesn't hurt, but the truth of the matter is, if someone comes back and asks you what it was, you got to keep building and building and building, and after a while, the snowball effect can overtake you.
Have you ever looked at somebody's timeline though and been like, "Oh, I wonder what it'd be like to be in that person's life just like for a minute"? Yeah, we've all done it. Listen. I know I've done it. Have y'all done it?
Yeah, looking at Oprah, Drake, all of them, just like, this is a crazy lifestyle. You know,
he said Oprah, Drake.
Yeah, because you look at it and you're just but think about it though. That's what their goal is, right?
Yeah.
The goal is they want you to look at their stories in a timeline and be like, I want that lifestyle. I want that house.
Yeah, I'm going to keep following. I'm going to keep checking back in and seeing what they're up to. It's all passionate.
And then just like Becky, we become obsessed over it. You know, that's when we click that follow button and then we start liking all the pictures. Then we start commenting, hoping that they'll comment back. And it becomes an obsession, a kind of, you know, strange obsession if we really think about it in a sense.
I'm obsessed, and I'm telling everybody because I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with you, and I'm obsessed with the show in a good way, not in a stalky kind of way.
No, that's cool. Thank you.
Oh my God! Yes.
I just want to end it on a positive, bright note, my peoples.
Oh my goodness! Thank you so much. That was such a pleasure.
All right, I'll see y'all later. Thank you so much, Erin. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.
Again, you guys, Chloe is dropping on Prime Video starting June 24th. I think it's about somewhere between like 6 and 10 episodes. I forget, but I would watch. It was like watching a little mini movie with each episode. You're gonna totally dig it. I almost forgot to tell y'all about Martin. Martin celebrated 30 years, and I just want to give you a little sneak peek into what I saw when I went to the Martin reunion. Here we go.
Martin Lawrence is a comedy staple, and so is The Martin Show. They got together for a reunion screening in downtown LA, and baby, it was something to behold. I was there in all its glory. So was Tisha Campbell, who played Gina, Martin himself, AJ Johnson, Kim Whitley, Garcelle Bouvet, and so many others. Martin! Check it out on BET Plus. It's been streaming since June 16th. Get into it and check out Martin.
Wasn't that cute? I kind of love taking that little mini trip to Martin. You're welcome. So let's talk about this film that's coming up called Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. It is directed by Sophie Hyde, and baby, we had a fantabulous discussion about her film because it was what everything. This film is going to be, well, it's not going to be, but it's already streaming on Hulu. And it is, like I said, directed by Sophie Hyde. So it deals with this retired widow, Nancy Stokes, who's played by Emma Thompson, who hires a really good-looking sex worker called Leo Grande, i.e. Daryl McCormick, very easy on the eyes, in the hopes of enjoying a night of pleasure and self-discovery after an unfulfilling married life. The opening shot and the way Sophie uses this classical music in a very artistic type of way sets up the style that Sophie Hyde is setting up for the audience when it comes to this particular film, because it literally takes place in one room. It has a great soundtrack. I mean, how can you go wrong with Maxwell? Do a little something, something. That's all you get. Insti-who. The dialogue has a very Neil Simon-ish pentameter to it, the way it kind of moves and grooves and kind of jabs and hits. It feels very much like a Neil Simon play or a Neil Simon film to me. And I love that if it deals with the beauty of an older woman embracing her sexuality and a younger man who ultimately embraces his past. It's a beautiful and non-traditional story of intrigue and infatuation. And I'm just going to say it. Emma Thompson is a badass. She always been a badass. She continues to be a badass. That last frame of the movie shows just how much of a badass she really is. And Daryl McCormick is giving subtle sexy a whole new meaning. Did I say subtle sexy? I said subtle sexy. So without further ado, here's my interview with the director of Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, now streaming on Hulu, Miss Sophie Hyde. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Carla. Great to talk to you.
It's great to talk to you too. You're like my third Aussie in 1 week.
Wow, we're getting out there. We're in the world again.
I love Australia. I've been there a couple of times.
Okay.
So as far as Good Luck to You, Leo Grande is concerned, in America, we're so prude when it comes to sexuality and bodies and women and how it's viewed. And we're oftentimes made to feel ashamed of our bodies and basically taught not to embrace it when you get to a certain stage in life, right? So I want to know, how exciting was it for you with this film to explore on screen the kinds of intimacies that can happen between a man and a woman, regardless of age?
It was a thrilling proposition, this movie. For me, it's not just the idea of these great actors, and that was thrilling, and them just being in one room. But yeah, the idea that we could explore how things look and feel, and how sex could feel, how intimacy can feel between two people, and kind of a full gamut of that. You know, the awkward, the sexy, the silly, all of the things. That's what really drew me into the film. And then truly, like what you're talking about there is even more important to me, you know, which is that, yes, we are like soaked in a culture that teaches us we should be ashamed of our bodies, and that they're not good enough. They'll never be good enough. And as we age, even more so, that they just get worse and worse. And we suddenly, we are told that our bodies, the most important thing about them is how they look, instead of all these other things, like how they feel when someone touches them, when we touch them, the things they do for us, like that they're our homes, that they carry us through our lives. And these are I think the reasons that we feel such shame around sex and everything, you know, because somehow our bodies are shameful things and we can't get away from that. So it was exciting to have a story where we could explore some of those ideas, and we could see a character who, even in just a tiny, tiny moment, is able to appreciate her body for something other than the way it looks, you know. What was the decision to have that final scene in the way that it did? Because I got my entire life with that very last frame. I was like, yes, Miss Sophie Hyde, yes. Thank you. Me too. I mean, I think that Nancy is a character who's just sort of accepted what was offered to her, you know. It's not like she's been mistreated or anything, but she's somehow just accepted the roles that were given. Mother, teacher, wife, you know, all of those things. And she's also just accepted the way the world thinks. Like, she hasn't even questioned things. She just says things back, you know. But somehow she's done this really bold thing, which is decide she wants to have good sex. And she's hired someone to do it. Wow. Now I love her as a character, even though she's abrasive and weird and says things I don't want her to say. Like, okay, I love her now. But when she accesses pleasure at the end, when she finds herself able to have an orgasm, not to achieve an orgasm, but to like access it, this thing in her body that her body can do, it became really important to me for her to have a moment where she just sees herself. She sees herself without judgment. She goes, oh, wow, my body can do that. I can do that anytime I want. And all the things my body's done, all these gorgeous things. Why have I been hating it for so long? And it's not like she looks at her body and is like, I love you. Because guess what? Doesn't matter what her body looks like then. That's what's great about it. It's like she's not looking at her body going, you're perfect. You look good. She's looking at her body, not thinking about how it looks. And that's so cool. If we could do that, if we could just have that 1 second a day of that, we'd be better off, right?
Listen, I felt like it was a full circle moment because you begin the film with her looking in the mirror in her suit, you know, trying to figure out if she looks presentable enough for this guy that's coming. And then you end it with her having a complete renewed sense of confidence and self-worth. So I appreciated this film for exactly what it was supposed to be. And I thank you so much for your time in talking to me today. I have so many more questions, but I'll get to you the next time.
Thank you. It's great to talk to you. Thanks.
Great to talk to you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Again, you guys, good luck to you. Leo Grande is streaming right now as an original film on Hulu, directed by Sophie Hyde. All right, I know y'all been watching this going, when's she gonna talk about Elvis? When's she gonna talk about Elvis? When's she gonna talk about Elvis? I'm about to talk about Elvis right now, boo. Let's get into it. Elvis is directed by Baz Luhrmann for Warner Brothers, and it also is dropping on June 24th. It is told by the point of view of Colonel Tom Parker, played by Tom Hanks, aka the Snowman. It shows the relationship between the Colonel and Elvis from the day he met him to his death. The importance of it also shows Elvis's importance and love and sweetness of his relationship with his mom Gladys and his former wife Priscilla. When I tell y'all that Austin Butler is singing, dancing, and acting for the blood, Austin Butler is singing, dancing, and acting for the blood. That boy, it's like Elvis Presley jumped in his body and never got out. It's ridiculous. And of course, the film is classic Baz Luhrmann. If you've seen The Great Gatsby, if you've seen Romeo and Juliet, if you've seen Moulin Rouge, then you know that Baz Luhrmann has very over-the-top, really bright, colorful cinematography themes. This theme is very much based in a carnival setting because Colonel Parker met Elvis at a carnival. So the whole film is kind of told through that point of view, but it's brilliant and it's genius, and so is Baz Luhrmann. I'm a big fan of Baz Luhrmann. He can do no wrong in my eyes. The Vegas scenes with Elvis are epic, and to note, Austin Butler is singing as Elvis. He's singing as Elvis and freaking crushing it. And I did learn something that I didn't know. I always wondered why Elvis Presley didn't go overseas like a lot of artists. They'll go to Germany, they'll go to Japan, they'll go to Australia, they'll go to all these other countries and do their shows there. He never did because Colonel Tom Parker was an illegal alien and could not travel and talked Elvis out of that, among other things. And when you see the film, you'll see why, and you'll be looking at Colonel Tom Parker like this. But without further ado, I have the entire cast of Elvis: Kelvin Harrison Jr., Yola, Alton Mason, Austin Butler, Olivia DeJonge, Tom Hanks, and the director Baz Luhrmann. And I'm going to start off with a little comp interview between Kelvin, Yola, and Alton, who respectively play B.B. King, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and Little Richard.
Baby, when you are in Memphis on Beale Street, you got to do like the locals. You got to have a whiskey and a pump, baby. Woo! It is the home of the king of rock and roll. We are down here on Beale Street at Alfred's where there's live music, there's great food, and I'm going to have you listen to Kelvin Harrison, Yola, and Alton Mason talk about B.B. King, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and who? Little Richard. Woo! Peace.
The relationship between him and Elvis, I've seen some videos, I've seen some articles and things, and there's always been that old adage about how Elvis was toward us, back in the day. And I'm just wondering how you use that to create a positive alliance between you and Elvis in the course of making the film, because as we know, that was the reality of the situation.
Right, and I think what was so cool to me was dissecting BB in a way that was like, how do you understand a man that understands what Elvis represents, how Elvis's how he moves can be conflicting for the community, but at the same time, as like, this is a business savvy man, BB, and you know, he understands that Elvis's platform offers them a lot, and also as an artist, it's more so about like, he's been inspired by the work that they do and he wants to share that, and he's like, well, this young kid came into Club Handy and loves the work we do, why would we shame him for that, you know? I think he just doesn't know what's going on. And he's like, Colonel's smart, but watch him, but Colonel's smart, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not always you, it's the people around you, and that's all I have to offer you as a fellow artist. So I think, yeah, that brotherhood is just more so about creating just empathy for how hard this business can be.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe discovered Little Richard, and she created this space for all of these artists to be safe. But she was an elder, so she was the generation before Little Richard and Elvis and BB, and so she is the inspiration to these artists. As she's innovating this style, the first person, a black woman, a queer black woman, she distorted the guitar. She took blues bending and sped it up and rocked it out, turned it into the shred that we know of like rock and roll music. She was like #1, and black women don't get their flowers.
No, they don't.
They don't get enough.
You just gave it to her in this interview,
Hey,
baby.
I've been giving it to her in every interview. And what we want to do is play that forward so other black women get their flowers.
Absolutely.
You know?
How about you, Alton, with Little Richard?
I really felt the responsibility just to serve this situation. This is my first film, and Boz really trusted me with this role, so I had no choice but to surrender to it, study, do all the interview research and performance research that I could, and then get to Gold Coast and let it all hang out. I really got to surrender to not only the period that we're in with segregation, but I had fun aligning with Little Richard being young and fly and sexy at 22 in the 1950s. It was just a party at Club Handy for me, and I played off of that and got to have fun.
You know, I met Little Richard once in the post office.
You
and
did?
Yes, honey. He walked in LA. He walked in front of the line, and when I looked at him like, "Why you cutting the line?" He looked at me and said, "Shut up."
Ooh.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did that.
No, he didn't.
Oh, yes, he did. And
you know
hollered.
that's his favorite word.
I know that. That's why I was like, "Oh, what?" What is the? Are you guys Elvis heads? Because I'm an Elvis head.
To a degree, not
You
so
learned
much.
about him.
What was the most interesting thing you learned?
The fact that he grew up in the hood, it kind of explained the reason why he was so influenced by our culture. But also in the scene, you see that when things are going up and down and getting shaky, he comes back to where he was inspired and felt the most. So that was a great learning experience. For
How about
sure.
you, Yola?
I really, it's the humanity. Like, I feel like we got like Elvis the superhero so many times, but we never got like Elvis the person who's really tender and really manipulatable and actually quite vulnerable. A lot of artists, they live in this world, certainly, where they have like an autocratic management structure. They have someone that tells them exactly what their life's going to be like, and that can really like dissolve your motivation to be an artist. And you watch that through the arc of his will to do this in the first place just utterly dissolve. And I think that's a lesson that we can pay forward to the kids who are getting into music now, to make sure that like their raison d'etre, the cell, as Baz would always say, doesn't overtake the art, you know.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Y'all are fantabulous. I love watching you in the film. I wish I had been able to see a little bit more. I appreciate you. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Take care.
You're so beautiful.
Jen, I'm so proud of you.
I'm so glad to see you.
Okay, thanks, baby.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
As what is shaking bacon?
Well, a whole lot going on. A whole lot of shaking going on here. And well, the biggest thing is, it's amazing to me back in Graceland. Like, I came here 5 years ago to start research, but I wasn't really close to the family. I just met, you know, Lisa Marie and Priscilla and Riley just briefly, and then I got estranged, you know, making the film in Australia. But last night, like, I've done a lot of big things in my life, Carla, you know, like, well, can or whatever. But to be here in Graceland and to have the family take us for a barbecue at the back of Graceland and then hang out in the jungle room having a drink. I mean, You know, I'm a kid from a small country town. You know, this is pretty special to me.
It can't get any better than that. I want to talk to you about the musical aspect,
Sure.
about collaborating with your music supervisor and your composer.
Yeah.
Because there were moments where you took the standards like Love Me Tender and a couple of other ones, and you gave them this really dark feel.
Yeah.
And as a fan of your work, I've seen just about every film you've ever done. I noticed that that's a through line with you, and I just wanted to know how you collabed with them on that.
I collaborate with them, but I see music as script, like a song, like Are You Lonesome Tonight, which can mean one thing. When you put it into a minor chord, it can have a dark undertone, and we use it like that. In much the same way that in operas, a theme travels all the way through, like we set themes, Elliot and I, for different characters. And those different themes, those musical themes, would track with the characters. And so, one moment, it shows that music is there to be interpreted in many different ways in different times to do different things in drama.
Yeah, I love how you used Suspicious Mind.
Yes.
I love the way that was used. It was absolutely brilliant. Since my time is running short, I want to ask you one more question because I'm just so curious. I know that you're a child of ballroom and that your parents did ballroom.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever use any Elvis cuts to draft your routines?
I'll tell you something, this is absolutely amazing you asked that. So one of my Elvis moments is when I was like probably 14, around that, maybe I was younger, but Burning Love had just been dropped by Elvis. And I just thought it was the coolest song. And I bought a 45 and I went up to the DJ at the ballroom dancing competition and I said, listen man, can you play this song for the jive? Because it really gets us going. And we did the jive to dun-dun-dun-dun, oh, my temperature rising. And of course we won.
Did you?
Yeah, we won. I mean, of course we won. I mean, what it is, of course, is we won. And I always thought like, wow, yeah. And actually later in ballroom dancing, I tried to get my grandmother to copy the white jumpsuit as a Latin dance costume. And she said, that's a bit hard.
She was like, I'm not having that.
She said like, well, how about we try a white shirt and white hipster pants, you know, with the gold chain. I was like, yeah.
I love you for sharing that. That is my time. Thank you so much for giving
Thank
me your time
you.
today. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Aw.
Lovely.
Thank you. I love that he reached out to shake my hand. That was so awesome. So now I'm going to try to follow it up with Austin and Olivia and Tom without it going back to my face. I may succeed in that task. I may not. But we're going to find out. Oh, there we go. That's a little less dark. But we're going to find out. So here we go. Miss Olivia DeJong, who plays Priscilla Presley in Elvis.
Doing great.
All right, girl.
I didn't figure that about you, though. You're great.
Hey. What's up, Olivia?
What's up?
Okay, girl, you did your thing as Priscilla.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how much did you know about Elvis and Priscilla before delving into this project as an Aussie? Because he's really big here, but in Australia, I'm not so sure what his presence was there.
I grew up listening to Elvis. Family were huge fans. Always through the house. I knew a little bit about Priscilla. I didn't know their story. I didn't know their love story. I didn't know, how beautiful after their divorce proceedings they were still friends. I didn't know the deep love that they shared. I didn't know how inspired that Elvis was by black music and how there was no Elvis without B.B. King and Little Richard and Big Mama Thornton. I had no idea about any of that. So to delve into that, to learn about all of that aspect of everything, it was, pretty magical.
So I was at the screening last night to get the stamp of approval from the entire Presley clan, especially Priscilla. What were you feeling in that moment? Because I saw your face and you looked really overwhelmed.
It's a joy to talk about, I think, because it's such a relief, I think everybody spent so much time on this film, and there was so much love behind this film as well, like pure love and pure respect. And we really wanted to do it right. And so to have them, they didn't produce it, they weren't EPing it, like they are here because they really do love the film. And so it means the world. It's very, very special.
And you portrayed Priscilla as very, very strong. I've seen every Elvis movie that's ever been made, and I've never seen her portrayed with such resilience and such strength as you have done.
Thank you.
Was that on the page, or did you combine what you wanted to bring to her as Olivia in addition to what was on the page?
I think it's easy to remember women in history as these especially beautiful women, as sort of these two-dimensional sort of icons or these godlike figures. And for me, I think the reason that she was with him for so long is because she had this quiet strength, and she was the backbone. You know, she was his home, and I think that element of it was really important for me as well. You know, I think too, it was the first time, obviously there's been other iterations of their relationship, but the first big film, especially to this generation, where she was going to be, you know, reintroduced to people on a grand scale. And I wanted her to be strong because she was, and she is.
I know you've listened to like tons of Elvis music from the time you got the gig until now. What is your favorite song to listen to?
Blue Moon. It's cute, romantic, melancholic. It's nice and smooth, and that's my fave.
Okay, girl. And did you get to see any of the movies?
I loved Blue Hawaii.
Okay.
That was great. It was cute.
Okay, girl, because I'm like Elvis head. You know I had to ask you about the movies and the songs.
Of course.
Well, that's my time. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
When I saw you in this film, and I'm going to predict it right now, you're going to get nominated for an Oscar. You'll probably freaking win. I'm never wrong, dude. And I know your face is turning red and you're like, I don't know, I'm just doing my job. Dude, what did it feel like the very first time you put on one of those caped costumes?
You feel like a superhero.
Really?
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, we did so many costume and wardrobe tests and things, but by the time that I was actually walking on set, and I'm in the black leather or I'm in the white jumpsuit, it just. Also, I'm not seeing myself, so I'm looking at it on my arms and on my legs and everything, and seeing the set. So it feels like I'm looking out of his eyes. That was the wild thing, where it becomes an out-of-body experience where it's so hard to describe. It was just amazing.
This role for you is extremely emotional, physical, and mentally taxing. What did you have to do to get there, to prepare to be Elvis Presley? He's an icon all over the world, but especially, you know, here in Memphis and around the rest of America.
Yeah, he's that was it for me. It was stripping away the icon, stripping away the caricature, and finding the human. You know, finding his soul. That was what was endlessly fascinating and drove me every day. And it's just such a responsibility. So you know, I couldn't sleep for 2 years.
Really?
And yeah, it was really, but just the joy of my life. Like, it was incredibly nerve-wracking, but so exhilarating.
What was your favorite song to perform and learn?
Oh, it's so hard to nail down just one, because I mean, I feel like I just need a couple.
So you think about that. I'm gonna tell you what my favorite.
What's your favorite?
Was. My favorite was when you did Unchained Melody, because that seamless performance into that. But I also loved the Vegas stuff.
The Vegas stuff, yeah.
Yeah, when you were on stage in the Vegas stuff.
Yeah, I love the Vegas stuff because I'm especially going from the rehearsal for Vegas into the performance, and it was so surreal doing that. It was amazing. So yeah, the Vegas stuff I just love. I love doing Polk Salad Annie. That's one of my favorite songs. That was one. Baz was like, if you were to throw another song in, what would you do? And I was like, Polk Salad Annie. And so we got to that, and also Trouble, because that has a particular, because of the context of the story, and that time in Elvis's life where he's really being torn, and he's got to listen to himself, and that, like, it's just so, that was so moving to me. And also that time in Elvis's life, he was the most animalistic, the most primal, you know, version of himself. So that was really fun to do.
Well, and wrapping up my time with you, I'm glad that you picked Trouble, because this makes this a full circle moment for me. Yeah. I was on Broadway in a musical called Smokey Joe's Cafe, and one of the songs I sang was Trouble. So this is truly a full circle moment for me, and I'm so honored to meet you and to talk to you and have this time with you. I thought you were freaking awesome. I can't say enough about you in this movie.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, bro.
That means a lot to me. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Austin.
I wish we could talk all day. Yeah, it's so good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
See you later.
All right, baby. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
What y'all didn't see, after I got up and I walked up, he said something else to me that I can't remember what it was. And I said something crazy like, all right, you gonna make us just have cougar tendencies? Y'all know I ain't got no damn sense. Anyway, I'm gonna round out this hour, and it's been an hour, but y'all got your money's worth, or lack. Well, y'all got your viewership worth with this particular episode. Last but not least, two-time Academy Award winner Tom Hanks, who plays Colonel Tom Parker. Take a look and a listen as we talk to him about that and being in Elvis.
Carla Renata, the curvy film critic.
Oh man, all right. Ooh, tear me apart now. Let's go. Come on. I can take it.
No, I'm not going to tell you apart. I want to know this. There's a quote in the film where it says, when you're lost, people take advantage. And I want to know from Colonel Parker's point of view, do you think that that is what turned him into the biggest snowman of all time, i.e. Don King?
Oh.
Just saying.
You've got something there. Don King wore that hair in a goofy way, the same way Colonel Tom Parker wore cuckoo hats.
Yeah, he did.
You know, it says, hey, who's going to think a guy with his hair or these hats is a bad guy, you know? Colonel Tom Parker knew this. If you were in the carnival and you had the elephant, you had a meal ticket. Because if you're in a small town and the carnival comes to town and there's an elephant inside a tent that only costs 25 cents and another 25 cents for a bag of peanuts to feed the elephant, everybody in town is going to pay to see that elephant because they've never seen an elephant before. That's what Colonel Tom Parker was on the lookout for. And when he landed that elephant, he made sure everybody paid 25 cents plus another extra 25 cents. So Don King knows what to, how to sell 50 cents a fight for $15, he knows how to do that.
Yeah, he does. And then the other thing I wanted to know is, I dated somebody once who likened agents and managers to pimps.
All right, yeah, okay.
He was like, they will pimp you out for that 10% or whatever. Do you think that, knowing what you know now about Colonel Parker, do you think that he was that type of person? Do you think he was pimping him out for his own personal gain, or do you think he genuinely was trying to help Elvis?
I do not think he was a pimp. Okay. What he was the carny. That's what he was. He didn't care what Elvis sang, how he moved, how he dressed. What he cared about was this audience that wanted to pay for that forbidden fruit. That's all he cared about. And he knew that the more he made Elvis valuable and untouchable, the more that they would clamor in order to see him. One of the smartest things he ever did. In 1956, as soon as everybody in America was talking about Elvis, what did Colonel Tom Parker do? Took him off TV. He never appeared on free TV again, not till he was singing with Frank Sinatra in 1961. So, if you wanted to hear Elvis Presley, what did you have to do? Listen to the radio. They made money when you listened to Elvis Presley on the radio. You had to buy one of his records. Colonel made money when they bought one of it. You had to go see one of his shows. You had to buy a ticket. You want to see one of his movies. So Elvis Presley was never given away for free right after everybody in America wanted to see him. Now, that's genius, man. That is very... Now, was he pimping him out, or was he making Elvis Presley's dreams come true by way of celebration? Freedom in order to sing the songs that he wanted to sing? He did that. He did that in this moment. If you're going to say pimp him out later on down the line, I would say that let's use that as a pejorative word, pimp. All right, let's make that a bad word, shall we? I would say that what the Colonel did that was wrong was he did not have the imagination to see what Elvis could have been when as of 68, 69, 70. Elvis knew what he wanted to do. The Colonel just he didn't have that vivid imagination. And that's what ended up costing him. So I would say that there was a point there, not in the beginning, but at the end. I'll use that bad word that you just used right now.
I'll use it for you, pimp.
I was going to say that. Okay. I'm not going to use that vernacular. That's you. Because what do you see here? What do you see here?
I can't with you, Tom Hanks, but you know what is genius is you in this film, and every time you hit a silver screen. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. What a delight. I wish we had 22 minutes. We could go
Listen,
on
you
like
can make that happen,
Nobody assumes I have power. I do. I do what I'm told. I'm told what to do, and I do what I'm told.
It's all good. Thank you
so much. Lovely to talk to you. Real pleasure.
Okay, bye-bye.
You look fantastic.
Okay, not only did Tom Hanks say he wanted to talk to me for 22 more minutes, but did you hear the publicist in the background going, and then gave me a compliment on my way out. I want to thank everybody that I interviewed on the show today. Miss Erin Doherty, Miss Pippa Bennett, Mr. Brandon Michael Hall from Chloe, Miss Sophie Hyde from Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, and the cast of Elvis, Kelvin Harrison Jr., who plays B.B. King, Yola, who plays Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Alton Mason, who plays Little Richard, Olivia DeJonge, who plays Priscilla Presley, Austin Butler, who plays Elvis Presley, and the one and only Tom Hanks, who plays Colonel Tom Parker. Elvis is produced by Warner Brothers Pictures, and it is going to be in theaters on June 24th, y'all. Do not miss it. I promise you, you will get your entire life. And I wanted to make sure that I gave you the number to text to for if you want to donate to the Motion Picture Television Fund. You will text 100-MPTF to 41444. That's text 100-MPTF to 4144. This was a long one, y'all, and I thank you so much for hanging in there and watching it and joining me for another episode of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata next year. Next week, I'm going to talk to you about the Black Phone premiere because I would have been there by the time we come back. I also would have gone to the premiere for Thor, Love and Thunder, and I'm going to have some interviews with the cast of one of my favorite books of all time, Flowers in the Attic, the origin story, which is going to be on television, and I'll tell you more about that then. But until then, y'all, stay safe, stay sane, wash them hands, try not to get COVID, because, you know, it's still a real thing. A friend of mine texted me today saying that she got it. So, you know, do your thing and, you know, just try to stay safe if you can. Check out the Martin anniversary, the 30th anniversary, which is on BET Plus. And I will see y'all next week. Love, peace, and hair grease, baby. And thank you so much for joining us, sister. I appreciate you. Deuces.